This week, the HPT returns to its Michigan home at the beautiful Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Almost 500 players from around the nation have come to Michigan's finest casino resort, building a prize pool worth over $662,000. With over $155,000 up top, the pressure and the tension in the room was palpable as the field dwindled to the Elite Nine. Now the final table is set, and among them is 2009 WSOP champion Joe Cada, past HPT final tableist Penelope Banihashemi, and a guy named Bacon.
This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face, you with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game, talk trash all you want. To me it's all the same, you won't leave with much when you come in second place. And I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack on cry to your mama, cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello and welcome to the HPT. I'm Fred Bevel. By my side, as always, is the beautiful Miss Maria Ho. And this week, we're in the great state of Michigan at the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. What an amazing tour stop this has been. Historically on the HPT, always been one of our biggest, and this time they didn't disappoint again. Over $660,000 in this prize pool and $150,000 going to the top prize.
Winning that top prize won't be easy, though. This field started with 462 players, and the final 9 that emerged proved that this was a very talented and competitive field to get through. Past HPT champions, professional poker players, and a lot of other familiar faces started the grind 2 days ago, and since then, 453 players have gone home either cursing Lady Luck or wishing they had played a few hands differently.
We've all been there. This week's final table has all the ingredients for intense drama and high pressure. Penelope Banihashemi is looking to improve on her 5th place finish from earlier this season in St. Louis, but the man to beat is the player who's won the biggest poker event on the planet, 2009 WSOP champion Joe Cada.
You definitely have to handicap Joe as the favorite. He's extremely skilled, very experienced, and more importantly, he's got chips. He's starting this final table right in the middle of the pack with about 40 big blinds. Our chip leader, Tom Medina, has a sizable chip lead with over 80 big blinds, but Fred, you know as well as I do that the dynamics and momentum can change with one hand.
Indeed. My favorite at this final table is a man named Adam Bacon. I'm not sure how he plays, but with a last name like Bacon, I'm sure he's delicious. Let's take a look at what's on the line tonight and check out everybody's starting chip counts and get right to the action.
First place here is going to be a big one, as the winner is going to take home $155,000 and change for his or her effort today.
Bottom money at this week's final table, still over $14,000. Everybody getting a great payday this week on the HPT. Here are the starting chip counts.
We have Tom Medina coming into this final table as the chip leader with over $3 million in chips. Mark Davis follows behind him. The rest of the players are a little bit bunched up, but down to Patrick Steele and Fung No, who are our short stacks at this table. They're going to have to do some work here.
Blinds at this final table starting off at $20,000 and $40,000 with a 5K ante. Everybody's quickly folding around. And now over to my favorite player at this final table, Adam Bacon. He's got King Jack suited. Maria, you're a skilled amateur that's made this final table. You look to your left and you see the 2009 WSOP main event champ. That's got to be a little intimidating.
Absolutely. That really has to be daunting for anybody. Joe Cada has proven himself to not just be the main event champion. He's had results since his deep run, and hopefully he's going to show us some of his poker chops today.
Adam makes it $80,000 to go. This is Patrick Steele with pocket sevens. He's going to re-raise it, makes it $185,000.
Patrick came in here with only 24 big blinds, and I'm not sure that I like this 3-bet with his stack size. I think that if he wants to play his hand aggressively, he's going to need to shove all in instead of 3-betting, but we'll see how this works out.
Rudy Ballard now on the decision, and he decides not to play. Over to this young lady, Penelope Banihashemi, making her 2nd final table. Last time we saw her was in St. Louis. She folds, and Mr. Bacon makes the call, so heads up on this first hand of the final table as we go to the flop.
And this is why I don't like that Patrick didn't just shove, because now he's going to be put in a tough spot with sevens post-flop. And the flop is 3 of hearts, jack of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, and now Adam's out-flopped him with top pair, and it's going to be very difficult for him to proceed.
Adam checked over to Patrick, and Patrick did what he wanted to see him do, I'm guessing. Makes a bet to 210,000.
And obviously Adam's not going to go anywhere, and Patrick has invested quite a bit of his stack now in this pot, and he's not going to like the results.
Well, you're sitting on a little pair, and you've just been check raised with 2 overs on the flop. Patrick cannot like the situation he's been put in here, and he is going to have to lay down the hand. So, Maria, going back to your point where you wish she would have just seen Patrick go all in, that's the standard rule, right? 20 to 25 big blinds, that's a good 3-bet shove stack.
That's definitely the play with his stack size. I would have honestly just liked to see him flat with sevens there, to be honest, but if he was going to get aggressive, I really don't like him committing so much of a stack and then having to do what you saw he did there, which was fold post-flop.
So much fun having a pro player giving us this kind of analysis this season on the HPT. On to the next hand, Cada opens to 85,000, and Maria, Penelope wakes up with pocket aces.
And both Penelope and Joe came into this final table with plenty of chips to play with, so it's just a matter of how she wants to approach this hand.
Make it 225.
Penelope re-raises here to 225, and another wired pair, this time in the hands of Fung. And Maria, look at this. It's pocket queens for Mark Davis.
This is a bit of a cooler situation. Mark came into this final table with 44 big blinds. Although there has been a lot of pre-flop action before him, I don't really see him doing anything other than what he did, which is go all in.
Joe quickly gets out of the way. Penelope snap calls, and Mark can't like that. He is going to see the bad news that Penelope is going into this flop a 4-1 favorite.
It's definitely hard to lay down a hand like queens before the flop, but there was a raise and a 3-bet from Penelope. It really depends on what the table dynamic was before this final table. If Penelope is a very tight player, then Mark could have given it some thought.
And the flop comes Jack 10-3 with 2 spades. So far the aces way out in front. Penelope waits nervously, knowing the turn in the river can crush her at any moment.
The turn is the 8 of hearts, and that's going to give Mark some additional outs. Not only will a queen help him, but now a 9 will complete a gut shot straight draw for him as well.
The aces are still in the lead.
On to the river we go. It's a 5 of spades. The aces hold up, and Penelope is going to get a much-needed double up. Maria action at this final table, starting off with fireworks and all in a double up. We'll be back with more poker right after this.
And welcome back to the HPT. It's time to get back inside the poker room and see who's going to be our new HPT champion. Maria and Fred will send things over to you.
Thank you, James Larson. Only a couple of hands into this final table, Maria, and we've seen a bit of shifting.
After Penelope doubled those aces, she's moved into second place in chips here, and she is very close behind Tom Medina, who still holds the top spot. Mark Davis is now our short stack, though, with just 8 big blinds.
Mark's not going to be able to wait too long with that kind of a stack as blinds continue with 20 and 40,000 blinds and a 5K ante. Action in this hand will start with Joe Cada. Ace-Jack offsuit is his holding. We saw Joe earlier open it up with pocket 4s, only to have to fold to just a melee of fireworks around him. This time he opens it again for 85,000.
Rudy looks down at a not-so-playable hand, 7-3 offsuit. He's going to let that go.
Penelope quickly folds. And Maria, is there anything better than not being able to stack all your chips before the next hand starts?
Oh, yeah. That is probably my second favorite thing to making change for everybody at the table.
Mark is all in with pocket deuces here. Action continues to fold. Back to Joe Cada with ace-jack. It's 227,000 for Joe to call. Joe right now doing the math in his head. Maria, carry the 1. What's he going through?
I think that it's definitely a call here for Joe. Mark only has 8 bigs coming in. I think Joe was just getting a count to be sure, but once he realizes that, I think he's definitely going to put the chips in.
You are correct, my friend. Joe indeed makes the call, and we'll be racing for Mark's tournament life.
Mark only having 8 big blinds doesn't really have a lot of options, but you know, deuces on the button after Joe opens under the gun. I don't really know if I like that shove with no fold equity. I think he has a few hands before the blinds come around, and maybe he could wait for a better spot when it's not open before he gets to.
Well, perhaps Mark knew he was going to flop a set, Maria, as the flop comes 9, deuce, 6, completely shutting the door on Joe Cada's ace-jack. Guaranteed the double up, and of course, the turn brings him a full house. So, 2 all-in so far at this final table, Maria, and 2 double-ups with no eliminations.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like things have been going Joe's way. He's opened and had to fold, and now he's opened and had to double somebody up and didn't really even get a chance.
Well, Joe still has plenty of chips left in that stack, and with his experience, I'm sure he'll just lick the wounds and move on. Action here starts with Penelope. She folds. Over to Fung. He's going to lay down Jack 8. Now to the freshly doubled up Mark Davis. He throws 9 deuce in the muck. Over to Tom. Bacon! Baby connectors go into the muck.
I'm going to be so hungry watching this for some reason.
Back to Joe Cada. And again, Joe is going to raise it up with ace-9, makes it 85,000 to go. Joe's been very consistent when he opens. It's always the same amount.
And he's been consistently getting a little bit of a pushback, but it's really just the cards doing the talking here. Patrick has ace-10 and only 12 big blinds with Joe raising from late position. Patrick is definitely going to go all in with his holding.
Rudy Ballard now on the decision. You got a raise and a re-raise all in. Yep, those cards go into the muck. Well, Maria, here we go once again. If Joe makes this call, we will be heads up with someone's tournament life on the line.
And I think this is a little bit of a closer call for Joe. I think he's definitely trying to determine what Patrick's shoving range is here. And like I said, dynamics going into this table are very important when it comes to judging what kind of hands your opponent is willing to shove over your open with. And Joe makes what looks like a reluctant call there. I think he did the math, and given the positions, I think he decided that it is a call. He was just hoping that he would have an overcard with the ace, but unfortunately he's going to get the bad news that he's dominated in this spot.
The math made him do it. Flop comes queen, deuce, 8 with a couple of spades. Right now Patrick's ace-10 way ahead.
And with the turn being a 10, Joe's going to need to hit a jack on the river in order to snatch this double up out of Patrick's hands.
A jack and only a jack, or Joe Cada's going to double up 2 players in as many hands.
And the river is a 5 of hearts. Patrick is going to double up, and Joe is going to be crippled after these series of unfortunate events for him.
Joe Cada maintaining the composure after he doubles up 2 players in a row. Blinds moving up 25 and 50,000. The antes remain at 5K. Action in this hand starts with Joe. He's going to fold.
And that's got to be frustrating to just come into a final table and just have nothing go your way. But if anybody can bounce back, it's definitely someone who's won the main event, been under this kind of pressure, and knows how to regain his composure.
Patrick Steele looks down at ace-10, and he's going to open for a raise. Makes it 115,000. Rudy gets out of the way. Penelope looks down at ace-9. Penelope from Cleveland, Ohio, plans to use her winnings to play more poker.
And Penelope is going to call with ace-9. Not sure I'm loving that, but we'll see what happens.
Over to Mark Davis. Where'd he get the hat? The hat's new. Was he wearing that the whole day?
I think you are too focused on bacon over there that we have no idea who's even next to him.
Well, Tom is going to make the call. Adam Bacon does fold, so 3-handed going to the flop this time in a raise pot. Right now, Patrick's ace-10 is ahead. Here comes the flop.
The flop is queen, queen 4, rainbow. And Patrick is still ahead here with his ace-10 high. But he's going to check it over and give up the lead. And let's see if Penelope's going to take advantage of this opportunity.
250.
She does, with a mallet. Makes it 250,000.
And I'd be surprised if she got anything other than 2 folds out of the rest of the players here.
Well, Tom's not going anywhere. He is going to raise it. Makes it 515,000. What a play here. Patrick gets out of the way, and Penelope can do nothing but fold.
And Tom is going to win with the worst hand there, and that goes to show that you don't really need the cards, just a little bit of aggression.
More poker from the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, when we come back. Welcome back to the Soaring Eagle Casino Resort here in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Fun final tables happening. Let's get right back to the action.
And here's a look at our updated chip counts. There have been a few all-ins at this final table, but no eliminations yet. Tom Medina is holding on to that top spot with just over 3.5 million. And Joe Cada has fallen quite a bit as he was the one to double up those short stacks. And Fung is at the very bottom of our chip counts here with just 12 big blinds.
Yeah, Joe Cada lost 713,000 in chips since we last checked in. He's going to have to quickly find some momentum here.
Blinds are still 25,000, 50,000 with a 5,000 ante.
Sai Madularu in the 1 seat is going to make it 100,000 to go with ace 10. Patrick's going to fold. Rudy's going to fold. Penelope also folds. Over to Fung. He's got king jack of spades and a short stack. The short stack, actually.
And I really hope he doesn't. Ooh, Fung, no. I don't like going all in here.
Too late. They're in there. Fung is all in. Mark Davis now on the decision. He's going to lay it down. Over to Tom. Tom has ace jack.
Ace jack on the button. He has somewhat of a decision, but no, he's going to muck them pretty quickly. I think it's worth thinking about, but with a raise and an all-in in front of him and not knowing what Sai's going to do behind him, I do like that fold, but he didn't even really give it a second thought.
Now back to Sai. 475,000 to call and put Fung's tournament life at risk here.
And Sai did have 15 big blinds going into this hand, so it is for most of his stack as well, so he definitely has a decision. Little does he know he's ahead, and he actually got a better hand that had him dominated to fold.
He is going to make the call, and he's going to find that he is ahead. But it's a coin flip, Maria. Fung with 2 live cards can easily suck out here.
And as we saw, Tom had one of each of their outs, so it's really just going to come down to who's a little bit luckier today, I think.
A little over 1.2 million in the pot. Sai's hoping it goes his way. Fung hoping he can stay alive at this final table.
And here comes the flop. It is 6, king, 5, 2 hearts. That is going to put Fung ahead for now, but you got to look at Sai having that flush draw and be a little bit afraid of what's to come.
Sai has the ace and all the hearts. The turn comes a 7 of clubs. No help for Sai right now. Fung poised to double up. Just need to fade the river.
Sai's trying to will that heart, and he got it. The jack of hearts comes on the river, and Sai's going to score the knockout, our first knockout of this final table, with Fung No finishing in 9th place.
And Fung is going to have to drive home with the story. I was ahead until the river. I hope you had a great experience with us this week on the HPT. Let's hear what he has to say about his play and the rest of the players' play at this final table.
Well, I was getting short, and I kind of sensed, I didn't get any cards. I kind of sensed a bad feeling, but I had to make a move sometime. So my plan is to hopefully use that money and play more Heartland Poker Tournament in the future.
Thank you, Fung. I hope we see you at an HPT event very, very soon. Blinds continuing on at 25 and 50,000. Under the gun is Adam Bacon. I can't wait to see him play a hand. It won't be this one, though. 6-9 offsuit quickly into the muck. Over to Joe Cada, 2009 main event champion. Broke Phil Hellmuth's almost 20-year record of being the youngest champion. Of course, he only held it for a year, and Peter Eastgate won in 2010.
And Joe's going to raise here with king, queen off.
I love that hand, by the way.
I know it's your favorite.
I love it.
It's so sad that it's your favorite.
He makes it 105,000 to go. Action is on Rudy.
And Rudy has a7 of diamonds here. Let's see what route he wants to take with this hand.
Call.
He is going to make the call, and now we go over to Penelope. Penelope made a final table with us in St. Louis.
And obviously a7's somewhat of a speculative hand to be calling here, but he does have position on Joe, and we haven't seen Rudy play very many hands, so maybe he just wants to get in the action a bit.
Mark Davis is holding the same hand Rudy is. Rudy called with a7. Let's see if Mark does.
And Mark says call over to Tom.
And he does. Over to Tom. He folds. Three-handed Miss Ho as we go to the flop.
With that, we have a total of 3 players.
And I expect that Joe knows how to maneuver most flops here, given the fact that he is the pre-flop raiser. I see him continuing to be aggressive. The flop comes ace, queen, 4 with 2 diamonds, and both Mark and Rudy have now hit top pair with their ace and have the same kicker. Let's see if Joe wants to check it over and give up the betting lead, or if he's just going to continuation bet here.
Well, Joe hits second pair, and he is going to check.
And I do like that check because I think that this is definitely a situation where Joe will check it over to the person in position and then see what he does, and then he also gets to see what Mark is going to do after and then make his decision whether or not he's going to check call here or check fold, and then he's not investing any more chips, but he gets to see what everybody else is going to do before he has to act.
You are the best, Miss Maria Ho. Rudy is going to bet here, makes it 615,000, and why not, Maria? He's got top pair with the nut flush draw.
That is a very big bet for the pot size, though, and I think the good news for Joe is that Mark is going to make the call here, and Joe's going to get away from this hand fairly cheaply, considering he has a piece of it. Ooh, but Mark is going to fold, actually. I think it had to do with Rudy's bet size. I think it was just a little bit too big. And Rudy's going to take this one down, and Joe made the correct fold here.
As did Mark. He could have ended up in a lot of trouble.
Time to step aside for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, more exciting final table action here from the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. You're watching the HPT. Welcome back to the HPT. It's time to get back to final table action. Maria and Fred, we'll send it over to you.
Thanks, James. And here's a look at the latest chip counts. Tom Medina still holding on to that top spot. He's just got a little bit over 4 million. Penelope still hanging in there in second place. And on the short stack, we have Mark, Joe, and Patrick all fighting somewhat of an uphill battle at this final table.
Yeah, those guys came to the final table fairly healthy in chips. The cards haven't gone their way. They're hoping to get that momentum back here. Action in this hand will start with Rudy. It's a king and a queen. Again, my favorite hand.
I know, and how well has it worked out for you today?
Not too well. This whole trip, King Queen, has just bit me. I still love it, though. And so does Rudy. He's going to raise it up. Makes it 110,000 to go. Penelope folds. Best drawing hand in poker in the hands of Mark Davis. Now he doesn't have the hat. He's got to stay consistent. He's throwing me off here.
Maybe his head's getting cold.
Tom folds. Over to Adam Bacon. I haven't seen him play a whole lot today. I want him to get involved, mix it up a little bit. Joe's going to lay it down, and look at this. Cy wakes up with rockets.
And Cy has shown himself to be somewhat aggressive so far, so he might get some action here.
Makes it 375 to go. 265,000 for Rudy to see a flop. Rudy's got that look like he thinks he's getting pushed around here.
I do think Cy's re-raise is somewhat on the bigger side. I think I would have liked to see it maybe in the 280K total range, because Rudy has shown himself to be somewhat tight, so I don't think he wants to lose him this early on.
But he's not losing him. Rudy goes all in, and Cy makes the call before Rudy can even get his chips to the middle.
I think Rudy's been taking your class about King Queen being a great hand here, because he just went all in with 30 big blinds, and of course Cy's going to quickly call here.
Rudy going to this flop way behind, but he does get some help. 6, King, 4 with a couple of spades. So Rudy does hit a pair. He's got some outs.
Rudy's going to need to hit another king or a queen in order to score the knockout against Cy here.
The turn is a 7 of hearts. No help to Rudy, proving Maria's king-queen theory. And the river brings a king of hearts.
Wow.
What do you think of king-queen now, Maria, huh?
That is heartbreak for Cy. That is a terrible, terrible way to go out.
Sai is nothing but class. He smiles and is like, ouch, aces just got cracked. Rudy is going to score the knockout and win just under 3 million in chips here.
They're going to do a quick check on the counts just to make sure that Rudy has Sai, but doesn't look like Sai's going to be coming back for another hand.
The program analyst from Lansing, Michigan, plans to use his money to play more tournaments.
See you, man.
Although I think if you take the Case King on the river to eliminate you with pocket aces, you might have to take a couple of tournaments off. Let's hear what Sai has to say.
After the king came out, there was just one out of there. You know, the guy beside me, Pat, he said he folded king queen too. So this king, the other king came out on the river. So what can you do? It didn't make me angry. Like, I mean, I've seen that happen a couple of times. So my plans are to, you know, build my bankroll and play more tournaments.
Thank you again, Sai. Action continuing at this final table at 25 and 50,000. These are the hands of Joe Cada as he folds. Over to Patrick, he lays it down. Now on to Rudy, who's got almost 3 million fresh chips right out of the oven in his stack. 7 deuce, probably not going to play it. Or maybe he is going to play it.
I don't know. Sometimes you get your hands on some chips and you're just going to go crazy.
He does lay it down. Penelope folds over to Mark. Now over to Tom. Rag hands for everybody so far. Blind versus blind here, which in my opinion, Maria, are always the scariest hands when I'm playing poker. Tom is going to raise it up to 100,000, and now over to Adam Bacon. And look at this, Maria. It is the mystery hand. Poker pro Maria Ho will speculate the hand along with you at home, and we'll see how close she gets.
I feel warmed up. I feel like this is going to be a good one.
Flop comes 4, 10, 9. We have a raise and a call pre-flop. Tom hits top pair, and he is going to bet it. Makes it another 100,000 to go.
And the blind versus blind dynamic is always very interesting to me. It's kind of a leveling war when you're in this situation. We'll see who comes out ahead.
100,000 for Adam to call and see a turn. He does make the call. Any guesses yet, Maria?
Not a clue.
The turn is a 3 of spades, and this time Tom will slow down. He checks. Tom with top pair and a weak kicker, stepping cautiously now.
I'll definitely have a better idea what Adam has after I see what he does here.
He is going to lead out, makes it 180,000 to go.
And Adam's bet sizing here is somewhat telling. He bets a little less than half pot. It makes me feel like he could be on a draw of some sort, because I think if he had a huge hand, he might just bet a little bit bigger because the board's starting to get very draw heavy.
Tom is going to make the call with top pair. It's getting a lot more interesting. The river is an ace of spades, so Tom's top pair is now second pair. And he is going to check over to Adam.
And I think whether or not Adam did have a draw when he was betting on the turn doesn't really matter now, because that is a really great card for him to bluff at on the river, whether he has it or not. The board is looking very scary for Tom's hand.
And Adam is going to fire. Makes it 325,000.
And that's kind of like a call me bet size. I think that if he is bluffing here, I would have liked to see him bet more and make it tough on Tom to call. But I'm still not quite sure what Adam has. I think he bet small because he didn't really want to risk too many of his chips on his bluff here, and we're going to see if it works or not.
So, Maria, you have Adam on a bluff. Tom makes the call. Let's see if he caught the bluff. And he did. Adam, playing with pure heart and 7 high, got Tom to think about it, but he just couldn't fold second pair in that situation.
I really like the fact that Adam was trying to take the pot away from Tom by floating him on the flop, but I think the problem was his bet size on the river. It was just a little too small.
There you go, from the pro Maria Ho. More poker when we come back.
Welcome back to the HPT here in beautiful Mount Pleasant, Michigan at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. It's time to get back to the final table action. We'll send things over to Maria and Fred.
Thanks, James. And as you can see, Tom Medina just been real steady here at this final table. Still has the chip lead, but accrued a little more chips with 4.8 million now. Rudy Ballard has jumped into the second spot, and Joe Cada, unfortunately, is on the short stack with 9 big blinds. A lot of things haven't gone his way. Let's see if he can turn it around.
Joe is playing great. The cards are just not liking him a whole lot right now. Let's see if his luck can change. That'd be very dangerous for the other players at this table. Rudy has 7-8 suited.
And it looks like Rudy's going to get a little bit frisky here with an open under the gun now that he has some chips to play with.
He's going to make it 110,000 to go. Over to Penelope now. She's got Jack Queen.
And she's going to fold.
And back to Mark Davis, who's had at least 2 or 3 wardrobe changes at this final table so far.
I think he's trying to find his lucky something or other.
He is going to fold. Over to Tom, he folds. Over to Adam Bacon, he folds. And now it's Joe Cada. Ace Jack for Joe, and he is all in. And it's pocket 7s for Patrick Steele.
And it's a pretty easy all-in for Joe with his stack size. And he's going to get Patrick to fold 7s. And I think Rudy's wondering if he's priced in for the call here, given the fact that Joe only had 9 bigs and Rudy did open.
It's 345,000 to call.
Looks like you hated
650,000 in the pot.
And this is kind of the spot where I think math dictates that you have to call here, but you don't really want to turn over your hand and let people see what you've been opening with.
Story of my life. Well, I agree with you, Maria. I don't think Rudy can get away from this. He can't. He is going to make the call. He is going to find that he is behind, but has 2 live cards, has diamonds. They're connected. A lot of things can happen on this flop.
Joe, you know what I took? You want to know what I took down? 2 7s.
Oh, yeah,
And now Patrick bragging that he folded a pair. I don't know if you want to say that.
Yeah, I think Joe feels a lot better now because not only does that take away some of Rudy's outs, but it puts Joe in a much better position. And with the flop being ace 5-4, Joe is in a much better position now to double up.
Rudy, in a bad way here, is going to need a lot of help on the turn in the river for any kind of hope. The turn is a jack. Joe's hand improves, but Rudy still has outs.
Rudy still has a gut shot. A 6 would make him a straight, and Joe is going to fade it, though, with the 8 of hearts coming on the river. He will double up and finally see him ship his first pot at this final table.
And Joe is going to scoop almost a 1 million chip pot, much needed for Joe Cada. He started the final table with a little over 1.6, so he's almost back to his starting point. Tom with 7-8 suited folds. Adam Bacon folds. Back over to the champ, Joe Cada.
It's a little bit of a tight fold from Tom with 8-7 suited in late position, but it opens the door for Joe now to open on the button with Queen 10 of spades. See if he could get some momentum going and win 2 hands in a row.
Okay.
I call.
And once again, it looks like Rudy and Joe are going to lock horns in this hand. Rudy makes the call with pocket 9s.
And the flop is 10-8-6 with a couple diamonds. Joe has out-flop Rudy now, flopping top pair.
And he is going to bet it, makes it 200,000. And Rudy is not going anywhere. He's not believing what Joe is selling.
And Rudy check calling here is definitely the right play. There's no real reason that he shouldn't think 9s are good here. And just in case they're not, he does have a gut shot straight draw to go with it.
And the 10 of clubs on the turn disguises Joe's hand even more, doesn't it?
Yeah, because now it's even harder for Rudy to believe that Joe has a 10 in his hand, and I think he's going to be put in a sticky spot here, having to call down all the way, possibly.
660 in the pot right now. Rudy staging some chips for a bet.
And Joe must be loving this, seeing Rudy bet into him when he's holding trip 10s. And given how much is in the pot and how much Joe has behind, he's definitely not going anywhere in this hand. It's just a matter of if he wants to call and go all in on the river, or if he's going to go all in now.
All in.
And Joe chooses now as the time. And wow, Rudy just snaps it. Doesn't even go in the tank, just figures he's being pushed around by Joe Cada. And unless Rudy hits a miracle on the river, he is going to lose a whole lot of chips here.
And that 10 definitely made it easier for Rudy to call Joe here. He just didn't believe that he had the third 10 in his hand.
Joe way ahead going to the river. Rudy still has outs. A 9 would give him a boat. A 7 would give him a straight. Here comes the river.
The river is a 5 of clubs, and Joe is going to double up again. He's definitely going to be a threat now after doubling up for the second time.
Earlier at this final table, things weren't going well for Joe. That has changed. Things are going great for Joe. For most of us, when we learn the game of poker, one of the first names we learn is Doyle Brunson. Well, we thought it'd be fun to bring the legend onto the show and have him tell his stories of his life from his point of view and how the game shaped it. Here is Doyle Brunson with A Poker Life, presented by Ace Play Poker.
When I first came to Las Vegas, they were so easy I couldn't believe it. I know for 7 years, people find it hard to believe. My first 7 years here, I didn't know how to play limit. I'd never played limit until I was 50 years old. But the no limit, I just sat around waiting for the no limit game, and I actually don't think I ever lost in a no limit hold'em game where the predominant chip was a black chip. You know, the real high games, we called them. I might have lost in some of the green chip games, the $25 chip games, but it was to the point where all the players thought I was cheating some way. Wasn't no reason to cheat. I mean, they were just such bad players that it was a bunch of novices against professionals. There were 2 or 3 guys from Texas moved up here about the same time. This guy from Tennessee, Long Goody, James Roy, Sarge, Puggy, and it was like a strawberry patch. I mean, we all won a lot of money.
Over $155,000 going to the newest HPT champion. Every fold, call, and raise has a mountain of pressure on top of it. We'll continue the action right after this.
And welcome back to the HPT here from the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. We've got more cash to hand out, so with no further ado, let's get back to the table and Maria and Fred.
Thanks, Mr. Larson. And here's a look at the latest chip counts. Tom Medina, slow and steady at 4.8 million, holding on to the lead. Penelope has found herself back in the second place spot with 2.3 million. Joe Cada's made a monster comeback from being the short stack, and now that puts Mark Davis at our short stack with 13 big blinds.
When we started out, nothing was going right for Joe. Now everything is going right for Joe. That's got to be scary for the rest of these players. Blinds going up. They're now 30 and 60,000 with a 10K ante. And Mark Davis wakes up with pocket queens.
And I think with 13 big blinds, the play here is to open and then either call it off or shove if you get 3-bet, but definitely don't open shove. You don't want to scare everybody away with such a big hand and such a short stack.
He just limps in with a big pair here.
It's definitely an interesting route, and I think that it could go 2 ways. Sometimes it's very, very suspicious when somebody with that short of a stack just limps in, but at the same time, you're assuring yourself that the big blind's going to go ahead and go to the flop with you and give you some action, and possibly even the small blind.
Action is folded around to the big blind now of Penelope, and look at this, Maria. She wakes up with a pair. She's got 8s, and she's doing what any player would do in this spot. She's going to raise it, makes it 260,000.
And I'm assuming that she's raising here to call it off against Mark.
You and me again,
and it's just an unfortunate situation here that she didn't really seem to sniff out the fact that Mark has a huge hand here.
Mark asked if she had aces, and she said yes. Well, let's see.
Wow.
And I think Mark's hesitation isn't Hollywooding. I think he's actually genuinely afraid that Penelope might cooler him again. But obviously, he has to get it in here with his stack, and I think he's going to move it in.
Come on.
And he is going to go all in. You called it, Maria. Now it's $500,000 for Penelope to call with a pair.
And Penelope's going to ask for a count, but she's definitely going to have to call after she raises. And I don't know, Mark might have confused her a little bit with all of that scared talk.
It's under 5, I think.
Oh, give me more credit than that.
Well, Mark tried to do a little acting. If Penelope thinks she's racing, she might go ahead and make the call.
All right, I'll call him.
And she is going to make the call. And Maria, she's going to find out she's a 4-1 dog going to the flop here.
Yeah, unfortunately for Penelope, she just ended up having one of those hands that you can't really fold to that stack size, and you're in a tough spot anything you do because you could have limped with a huge hand like she did.
Well, Penelope sees the bad news. She needs a lot of help here. Mark's tournament life on the line.
The flop is King Jack 6, 2 clubs. Mark's queens is still in the lead here, and Penelope is going to need an 8 and only an 8 to score this knockout because Mark and Penelope both share the clubs, and Mark has the higher club in his hand.
The turn is a 7 of clubs. So Penelope needs to get lucky on the river, otherwise Mark is going to double up to over 1.6 million, and it's a queen of spades on the river. Mark is going to get the double up he needs. Penelope shakes his hand and congratulates him. She's so sweet. And action moving on now. It's Joe Cada with ace queen.
A little bit of a fumble. Joe's under the gun here, and of course I imagine he's opening. Makes it 130,000 to go.
Patrick Steele with pocket fours is going to go ahead and go all in now.
And it's going to be 590,000 more to call. I don't know if I like Pat's shove so much. He has 10 bigs almost, and I think that after Joe opens, Pat might be able to find a better spot. Like I said, it's all about having fold equity with hands like fours. You know you're probably not going to be in a good spot if you get called, but if someone opens in front of you and you have that stack size, they're not going to fold to your raise.
Well, the action has been folded around now back to Joe, and he is going to make the call. So this pot now 1.6 million. Joe shows ace queen. Patrick shows his pocket fours. Lace up your running shoes, Joe. You're racing.
And the flop is king, 4, deuce, and Patrick's gonna flop a set. And Joe just hasn't been doing well in these all-in situations. He doesn't even really get much of a sweat here. He needs backdoor running wheel cards.
The turn is an ace. No help for Joe. Patrick is gonna double up here.
Thanks, Trav.
And for Joe's stack, luckily for him, it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, but it's gotta be frustrating when you get into these race situations and you have the ability to knock somebody out of the tournament. You kind of want a real race, and he's not getting any sweats.
The tension is mounting as we are getting closer to crowning our next HPT champion. Come back for more from Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
It's been a great week here at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort from Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and there's been some movement in the chip counts. Let's see where everybody stands. Tom Medina has just over 5 million, still hanging on to that chip lead. No surprise here to see Joe Cada move his way up to the second spot with 1.6 million. The rest of the players are a little bit bunched up.
Action moving on. Blind still at 30 and 60,000 with a 10,000 chip ante. Rudy Ballard starts things off with 7-9. And those go to the muck. Over to Penelope. Maria, do you put a little more stock in weak aces as players are eliminated from the final table? We're 7-handed now.
Yeah, the table's getting a little bit short. Penelope has shown herself to be fairly tight. I think her opening here is fine. I think she's going to get a lot of credit, and she does have an ace in her hand.
Mark once again wakes up with pocket queens, and once again he's going to go all in with those queens. Last time he ran into Penelope's pocket aces. This time a little bit different here. Ace queen for Adam Bacon.
Every time you say bacon, I just smell
it's the best
this
name ever.
Waft of bacon juices.
And Adam's a great guy too. So happy to have him at this final table. I'm gonna have breakfast with him one of these days. It's gonna happen.
Would you like some eggs with that, Mr. Bacon? And Adam re-raises all in here with ace queen. He has both players covered.
Pocket sixes for Patrick Steele. He folds. Back to Penelope.
That's an easy fold for her. I like that Adam 3-bet all in there. It's just unfortunate for him that Mark has such a huge hand.
Never count out Bacon. An ace is his live card, and an ace can come on the board. Here is the flop.
Flop is deuce 3-10 with 2 clubs. It's no help to Adam. Mark is still ahead with his pocket queens.
Adam doesn't even get a draw sweat on that flop. He is just hoping to find an ace here. And look at that! On the turn, an ace of diamond falls, so now it's Mark.
And Mark's only got one out, unfortunately, since Adam has the third queen in his hand. It's looking really bleak here.
Mark needs the case queen. It does not come. It is a 4 of hearts, and Adam Bacon has eliminated Mark Davis from this final table. Adam Bacon is going to shake the hand of Mark Davis, congratulating him for his great run at this final table. Queens, probably not the hand Mark wants to see for a while. Let's hear what he has to say.
I don't think I played that well. I had great cards. I mean, I had aces, I had queens 3 times, I had ace-king. So I couldn't ask for better cards, but on the other side, I had really tough players to my left that were big stacks, and then I just got crushed in that first opening hand with the queens and the aces. I couldn't really get my mojo back.
This final table has been a lot of fun to watch. A high level of poker, you're going to learn something, and you're going to be entertained at the same time. Next time, we'll crown a champion with one of these fine players. For now, we have to say goodnight. Do you think you have what it takes to sit at our final table in front of a global audience? Well, log on to hptpoker.com and find an event near you, and perhaps you can get lucky, play well, and be at our final table. For Maria Ho, I'm Fred Bevel, along with James Larson. We'll see you next time on the HPT.